Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have Valerie Vadala with us. Valerie is currently the VP of Talent Acquisition over at Human. But yeah, Valerie, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So let's start with your background. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Delaware, in the suburbs of Delaware, and I grew up thinking I would live there forever. I didn't wasn't like get me out of this one horse town or anything like that. It wasn't until I went to law school at University of Baltimore that I realized I'm more of a city person. But I grew up like in the burbs.
Nice, nice, very cool. And we were talking about how much you love being in the woods with bears earlier before this, right? Just
Woody
kidding.
Allen has a
Everybody tuning
saying.
in, absolutely not.
Woody Allen like
Yeah,
had a saying, "I am two with nature." That's kind of
yeah,
me.
yeah. Just for some context, for everyone you tuning in, I'm currently sitting in Tennessee, right outside Smoky Mountain National Park, and so Valerie and I were discussing that before recording, and she was like, "Wait, are there bears outside?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I think
He
so."
showed me the woods. He turned and I'm like, I can almost see a bear. Like that is so bear town, bear
Yeah,
country.
yeah, for sure. So anyway, so you grew up in Delaware, and then
No bears.
yeah, no bears, no bears. And then you moved to New York, right?
Well, I moved to
Or
Baltimore for law school and I lived in
okay.
Baltimore for 10 years and loved it there. Then I got engaged. It was like the dot-com boom, and the guy got a job in Seattle. So I lived in Seattle for a year, and like our relationship kind of went the same way as the dot-com boom, and it didn't work out. And then I ended up in New York, because I'd been working at Heidrick and Struggles in Seattle, and they were willing to move me to New York City. So I've been here for about 26 years now.
Okay, nice. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, nice. So you lived, you grew up in Delaware. You went to Baltimore for law, moved out to Seattle a little bit, back in New York, New
Yep.
York area. Nice.
I'm a
Okay,
city girl
that's
all the way
awesome.
through. Yeah.
What an amazing place to live.
I know. I love it. I always say it's a city of ests. You have the smartest, you have the meanest, you have the richest, you have the most obnoxious. Like everything is extreme, but it kind of spoils you for any other city. So,
It does.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I'd say New York is probably my favorite city in the States for sure.
Oh, it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
It's a love it or hate it place. When I was moving here, I just gotten out of we were supposed to get married in 8 weeks and we broke up and I was devastated. And I was talking to a friend of mine who lived in New York, and he was like, you'll either like wither up and be like, this is not for me, or you'll just like, totally blossom. And I was lucky that it was the latter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you decide to stay, so
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Sometimes it's not easy. Like, I mean, I've raised
Oh
kids
yeah.
here and crazy things like middle school, and my kids went to public school and high school. You wouldn't believe, if you weren't from New York, you wouldn't believe how hard it is to live here and go through those things. But then there's also great stuff like your kids don't have to learn to drive. You have to worry about them drunk driving.
Right. There you go.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very different experience, I'm sure. I've never lived in New York. I've traveled there many, many times. And but I've never really had the experience of living like a local.
Yeah, it's
So,
wonderful. I
yeah.
love being a New Yorker. I live in Brooklyn now, but still the
Yeah?
city.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
cool. Yeah, I
yeah.
like Brooklyn. Brooklyn's fun. It's sort of like a touristy thing that I do. I like staying in Brooklyn so I can see the skyline of the
Yeah. Oh,
city.
it's so pretty. Right. We have a better view.
Yeah,
It's New Jersey has a great view. I hate to say it, but like, because they're looking at the whole
right.
Manhattan skyline. But yeah, and I mean, Brooklyn, that's nice that you stay in Brooklyn. That's cool of you. You didn't
Yeah,
end up in
yeah, I
like Times
did.
Square or something, you
Yeah.
went, yeah.
So last time, yeah, I decided I actually stayed in the city because I had so many visits in the financial district that going back and forth between Williamsburg and
Yeah. Yeah,
it
no,
just it
Williamsburg is a
killing
pain.
me.
Yeah.
But
The craziest thing about Brooklyn is I live in a neighborhood called Park Slope, and the easiest way to get to Williamsburg is going back into the city and it's
you're
like
kidding.
absurd. Brooklyn is huge. I could tell
It
you a
is
whole
huge.
historical
Yeah,
thing. Do you know that when New York City was becoming a city, they asked a bunch of different like boroughs if they wanted to be part of it. And at first Brooklyn was like, no. I don't know why they finally decided. Yonkers said no. So they could have been another borough. Staten Island, why did they say yes? I don't know, but they did. But it's interesting how we got this way to be one city. Yeah.
yeah, that actually is really interesting. I never really looked into that. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I was there a few weeks ago during the blizzard, if you remember that.
Oh, you were there for it?
Yeah, yeah. So I was initially supposed to go to New York in February, and I canceled my trip because they were remember the huge storm, the first storm that was
Yes,
coming
I was going
in?
to say, were you the first or second one?
Well,
Yeah.
so I canceled my trip for the first one. I had
Yeah.
scheduled everything out, bought tickets, all of that stuff, canceled it, rescheduled it. And then on the second time when I actually did go, that's when like
Yeah.
the blizzard sort of came out of nowhere and the
Yeah.
city was on curfew and shut down.
Yeah. Were you stuck here for a
Yeah, oh, yeah, I
while?
was in
Yeah.
Soho at the time.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we
well,
were
that's a
just
good place to be stuck at least.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
this winter sucked. It's funny because I hate cold weather, and so I thought that as I getting older, I'm like I think my tolerance for winter it's not so bad, but I realized this year no, it's just that we had like 5 mild winters in a row, and like this winter I was like enough,
Oh yeah,
enough.
it was hell. It was
Yeah.
terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I was there. I was there with you in New York in
Thanks for
February.
suffering
I
with
don't
us.
know. So I did get the timing right. Well, cool. So I also want to talk to you a little bit about like what were you like growing up? What were you like as a kid?
I was super shy. Like people who know me now, and I say I'm an introvert, and they're like, no way. And I'm like, I am an introvert, and I was very shy, and I liked to be inside. My mom would try to shove me out the door. Again, the theme. I wasn't afraid of bears. I just didn't want to hang out with anybody. And I mean, as I grew up, like in high school, I kind of figured out at one point, and if you're like a painfully shy person and you're lucky, you kind of are like sick of feeling that vulnerable. And so you just start faking it, right? To the point where now, like if I like do a kind of a quiz about are you introverted or extroverted, I'm like I'm on the precipice because of just the things that I'm used to and comfortable doing. But like I will always be like I get being peopling is draining to me. Like after today, man, I don't think I have any interviews after this and I'm grateful.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not doing another podcast for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I wonder if it's like when people are shy and then they get into positions where they're like totally extroverts.
Mhm.
Do you feel like it is a lot of it comes down to like just forcing yourself out of your comfort zone when you're a kid and growing up, or do you feel like do you naturally change as you get older? I mean, what do you think it
I
is?
think it's comfort zone. I think you just
Yeah.
it like there are certain things about personalities that can be molded. It's like muscles, right? And you just kind of use it enough. And I also, I mean, another thing I will always say about myself, I mean, at this age, I've just accepted it's who I am. I am a people pleaser. I like people to like me a lot. And I mean, which does not always serve you well, but it's my reality. And so that made it easier to kind of come out of my shell because the less shy you are, the more people gravitate towards you, right? And
Hmm.
so that made it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they say
Yeah.
shy people are really good and introverts are really good recruiters because we do like to like watch and I mean, I have like a crazy imagination. I like stories and I like hearing people's stories and I like I enjoy that. So I think that really lends itself well to recruiting.
Yeah, I guess so. You take more time to listen and just take it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably I, I would say introverts are they typically more introspective, more time to those probably are traits that go hand
Yeah.
in hand.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I would never describe myself as quiet, but I want to hear people's stories. And I also kind of want to read be between the lines of the stories because the
Yeah.
truth is like people always spin in interviews and so it's
Right.
nice to try to figure it all out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is nice when you can get to down to reality, right?
Yeah.
We see through it all, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And so what else like what were you into when you were a kid? Like what were your favorite topics in school or did you play any sports? Like what was
No, I'm so unathletic. It's terrible. I'm old enough that like I don't even know if ad campaign still exists, but it was a Nike campaign with girls, and it was called "If You Let Me Play Sports," and it was very inspirational. And I mean, I remember I almost like broke into tears when I saw that the first time because I was like, I wasn't very athletic, and I was never coached to be more athletic. I was not like. I mean, my dad didn't help me and like I just never and I do feel like it's to this day, like I go to the gym 4 days a week. I try to stay in shape, but I've never wanted to do team things. Like I've ne it's always like just let me do my own thing because I suck at it. This is my joke that I used to make that's actually true. I wasn't just like in the neighborhood games, kick the can or whatever. I wasn't just the last kid picked. I was a kid that they used as like negotiating tools to get the better kid. Like, okay, we'll take Valerie if we get Richie too. You know what I mean? Like, because they wanted, like, I was bad. So yeah, I wasn't the least bit athletic. I mean, I read a lot. I have like a wild imagination, so I kind of lived in my own life. I mean, I had friends. I wasn't like, totally out there. I had an uninteresting childhood, I have to say, James. It wasn't, I mean, my parents were Italian immigrants.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Tell me about that. So where did they immigrate from specifically? We're in Italy.
yeah, so nobody knows that like Delaware has like a at least 2 generations ago, they had a real big Italian immigrant population. And so my mom came from Abruzzo and my dad came, his family was Sicilian, but he grew up in Genoa, which is northern Italy. They met in the United States. My dad worked at a bank and my mom was coming to get traveler's checks because she was going back to Italy to see her fiance. And my dad was like, oh, no, you're not. And so that's their love story. And yeah, and I grew up there, went to like the Italian Catholic school, Catholic St. Anthony's, and I went to Padua, which is an all-girls Catholic school. I went to University of Delaware. Like I never thought I'd leave. That was just where I was.
It was just life.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is fine. I had no idea.
Yeah.
People's like lives are so narrow when they're young. I feel like
Yeah.
it's so different now with the internet. Like they're probably like young kids probably dream about other things because they see it, day in the life of me in Manhattan or whatever, but I didn't have any of that. I was like fine with my life.
Yeah. And then you ended up so you left Delaware to go to law school? Is that what you
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, and I thought I'd be right back. The reason I stayed, honestly, was because I passed the Maryland bar and the bar exam sucks. It's like really stressful to take. And I'm like, I don't want to take the Delaware bar, so I'll just stay here. That's why I stayed. And then I fell in love with Baltimore. I ended up living there 7 more years. Great, great city.
Yeah.
And it's all good. But yeah, I mean, up until I like graduated, I thought, okay, I'll be back. And then I didn't. Yeah,
Didn't.
which makes my parents really sad. They're still in Delaware and they still miss me. Yeah.
Oh, how far is it from New York to Delaware though? It's not too far of a trip, is it?
If
Right.
traffic isn't bad, it's like 2.5 hours. It's a very boring drive. It's the New Jersey Turnpike, but it's like, yeah. So we go there every couple of months and spend some time with them. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Nice, nice. Do you ever like go back to Italy or visit where your family's from?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I do. Almost every year. That's like our one
Oh,
trip. My husband it's very embarrassing. He's got like a little Italian in him, but like one of those mixed kind of bags. But he's fluent in Italian, which I am not, which is very embarrassing. We go, Rome is like you know how I told you there's no other city better than New York. Like
hmm.
Rome is probably where we'll retire. That's the only other city that I love as much. And so we go to Rome. This year we're going to go to Rome for 2 weeks. We usually go a week somewhere new and then a week in Rome. But I was like, let's just go to Rome. We can take
Yeah, you
days.
just know what you
Yeah.
like, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah, yeah. And,
that's
and
yeah.
the train system's so good. You can take like day trips and do your thing. So yeah, so we're going to Rome. I love it. Have you been?
I have been. I've been a few times. I went when I was a kid, and I did all the
Yeah, the
Colosseum and
touristy stuff.
everything.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm usually not big on touristy stuff unless
yeah,
I'm like in Rome or a place like
yeah,
that where
yeah,
the history is just so rich and
yeah,
amazing that it's like, okay, let's do this stuff. But yeah, I really love the city. I went back a couple times as an adult just
yeah,
for weekend trips.
yeah.
I was living in Europe at the time. That's why I was
Oh,
living.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you
Um,
in Romania or?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
Romanian, by the way?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
opened a subsidiary there about 10 years ago.
Well, they have
I
good
got
tech people
married.
in Romania. When I was at
Yeah.
Shutterstock, we had an office there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So my my daughter's half Romanian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Lucky
Yeah.
her.
So
She's
there's
got an escape
lots of
hatch.
ties. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I lived in Bucharest for about a year and a half in total.
Yeah.
I didn't have a visa, so I would and we had an office in Bucharest. So I would be there for a few months and then I would leave for a few months, come back, go back
Back.
and forth
Yeah.
and so I also got to live in like Prague and Budapest and
Oh, that's
uh
lovely.
traveled a lot, which was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's amazing. Like you don't realize because the United States is so big, like Europe is not so big, and you can easily travel places for not too much money. And my
Hmm.
daughter just did a semester in Florence, and she went to so many cool countries. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Florence is awesome. That's
You know what? So we visited her. It was my first time in Florence, weirdly. I liked it, but what
you
I
didn't love
didn't
it.
like is that it's very like not that Rome's not touristy, it is, but like it was so catering to both these international students as well as just tourists that um like if you heard somebody speaking Italian, that was unusual. Like, because everyone's
Really?
like speaking English. They're all like,
Oh, well.
it's just very touristy. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just like it's an outdoor museum. Like Rome, their ruins are more things that like 2,000 years old, whereas Florence, it's like, 500 years old. It's very different. So it's beautiful, but like I spent like 3 days there and I was like, that's good enough.
You ready? Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one thing with like a lot of the touristy areas is maybe this is the introvert coming out. I just sort of like I hit a threshold with
Yeah.
having a lot of people around where I'm like, okay, like I'm good. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I totally
And
get it.
I can hang in there for a while, but then I'll just hit a point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to
Yeah.
not be around a
With
million
all these
people.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so you
But
go to the woods in Tennessee and you're happy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You got to counterbalance. Well, I did trips to San Francisco and to New York and all these places. And that's like I think just also being in the tech industry
Yeah.
and just being glued to computer and then doing all the travel to like the big cities. It's like in recent years I definitely have started gravitating more and more toward like the woods, like
Yeah.
to counterbalance a little bit.
Yeah. Where do you live?
Northern Virginia out like in Reston.
Okay, so right by DC. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I'm
30,
familiar.
40 minutes outside of the city.
Baltimorean, I got you. I know where you were.
Yeah, DMV. It's
Yeah.
the same similar area. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, Rome. So, okay, in Rome, do you, off the top of your head, not try to put you on the spot, do you happen to have any good restaurant recommendations, like favorite places to go in Rome?
Sure.
Yeah,
So there's one place that you should get a reservation, but it's not super fancy because I don't like fancy places. It's called Pianostrada, which means slow street, and it's really good food. I can send you. I have Rome notes, and I have like all kinds of places to go because we're very big on. I mean, like Pianostrada, people know about. There's another place called Roscioli that people know about. They're both really good, but there's
nice.
also some like littler things because we don't like to go to touristy places. Like there's fun things like there's this great little, it's like a cafe. It's like a kind of a dumpy place right near the Pantheon that has they do a gelato with a little bit of espresso on top that is so good. And like I like finding places like that. So I have a
Yeah.
whole paper. If you're going, I
Oh
can
yeah,
send
yeah.
you
Send it
everything. Yeah.
over
Yeah,
and
yeah,
send
yeah.
over if one of your some of your top
Yeah.
recommendations. We can put it in the description for everybody tuning in too.
Oh, would ha be happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's always like it's always really nice, particularly when it's like in a really touristy city, to
Yeah.
find the places that the locals love.
Totally. It's funny. So when I'm in Italy, it's kind of like being in New York. You can get bad to mediocre food pretty easily because there's so much stuff that's targeted to tourists who kind of don't know better or don't care. And whenever I have, like, if I'm in Rome and I have like mediocre food, I'm pissed off. I'm like, no, no, no. I want, because I know you can eat well. And so if I accidentally got suckered into a place that doesn't really serve it up, and it's the same with New York, you just have to do your research and you can eat so well, like really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's when I was living in Prague, it's like very touristy, right? Like
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
city center. But I also knew what streets to go down to get off like, the touristy areas, and that's where
yeah,
the good food was. It was also the prices were like one fourth or what they
yeah.
were like one block
Yes,
over.
exactly. It's crazy, right? As
Yeah.
soon as you see a menu in English, you're like, this is not the place for me.
Yeah, no, like absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah. So you went to just getting back to law school. Why did you end up going to law school in the first place? Because I know
Yeah.
you mentioned that you ultimately just decided that wasn't for you. Like, what was the
Yeah.
real?
So the thing about having Italian immigrants as parents, or at least my Italian immigrant parents, is the good thing is it wasn't like Tiger Mom. It was like the opposite of Tiger Mom. Like there wasn't too much like there's pressure to work hard, all these things, but they didn't give me any direction whatsoever. So my first big mistake is that I went to undergrad at University of Delaware and I was like, let me be a business major because then I'll get a business job. Like, what the hell is that even? And there it was a Bachelor of Science. So I was taking like calculus and statistics and even accounting was hard. And I'm bad at that. So like my GPA wasn't great when I graduated. I like if you're taking like my advice to anybody that's going undergrad, unless you know you want to do STEM, like you're going to go to medical school or that that's your brain, just take what you like because it doesn't really matter too much what your undergrad is, right? Just take what you like, get the high GPA, and then if you want to go to grad school, you got the high GPA and you can do what you want to do. So anyway, I had this whole thing. I was graduating. I have lived through four real recessions like that. Like, I mean, they've just come at me, right? And it was a recession when I graduated, and I was just like, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I'm like, well, I like to read. Maybe I'll go to law school. Like, really didn't give it much thought. So I ended up at University of Baltimore. And I kind of knew, like almost immediately, that I didn't like it. It's deeply boring. It's deeply detail oriented, which I don't like. And I mean, there are a lot of a lot of assholes go to law school. Like they're the kind of people like I didn't like a lot of people. Like they were very, very competitive. Like you'd have study groups and people would like just kind of be jerky about it and hide things, like not share notes. It was just like not my jam. But
Yeah.
I had borrowed money to do it. So I was like, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to just do it. If I pass the bar, I'm going to give it a year. I graduated, I passed the bar, I gave it literally a year, and then I left and became a recruiter.
And so you what kind of law were you in?
So it was again kind of a soft market. I was in a general practice firm, so
Okay.
I did estate work, I did some collections work, I did personal injury. It was a little firm, this general
All sorts of
practice.
stuff.
Yeah.
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 Well, so what was that story you said you were in you in Annapolis? Is that right?
Oh yeah. So
What
I
was
had to do a jury trial by myself because they knew it was like a losing trial and they were just
the
like, yeah,
jury
you
trial
do
like
it.
so you were like in court in front of a jury?
Yeah, like yeah, little
Oh, okay.
25-year-old me. Like I didn't know anything.
Wow.
Like it was just like and they
And you
just
had
let
like
me
less than a year of experience?
yes, the whole
That's
thing
wild.
like it was crazy. And so before the trial, because I got there early, and I mean, I just first of all, I remember, and this sounds much bleaker than it really was. It was more funny than bleak, but like I was crossing the street and I'm like, I like forgot to look and it was fine, but I'm like, I don't know that I would have cared if I got hit because I wouldn't have to go do this thing, you know. And then I went into Nordstrom's, which I like shopping, and Nordstrom's is kind of like a go in the cosmetics section.
Calming,
Yeah,
centering
exactly. Very
experience.
calming. And they were playing the piano. It was back in those days. I don't know if Nordstrom still does that. And it's a song from My Fair Lady called The Street Where You Live. And it's like people stop and stare. They don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not what I want to do. I need to do something else. And that was like it for me. I ended up changing careers. I read a book called Do What You Are, which is essentially the Myers-Briggs. And it says it's not as much what your interests are, but what your personality is. And so I did it. And at the very end, it kind of gave you ideas of careers that would be good for you. And as an aside, at the end of mine, I was an INFJ, and it said, you'd be a terrible lawyer. And I was like,
Yeah, I love it. Like that's the first recommendation it gives you. Look, like we can talk about
yeah,
what you
like
want to
what
do,
you
but
don't
like
want to be is a
to be
lawyer.
clear,
And I'm
don't
like,
be this
yes.
one thing.
I don't want to be a lawyer. And like this is my memory of it. Like I swear, I'm pretty sure this is how it happened. I used to call it on Sunday nights the 60 Minutes Blues because I don't think people watch 60 Minutes too much, but there's that tick, 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 tick. And like when you heard the tick, 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 you knew you had to go to work the next day and you were just like, oh God, just kill me. So I finished the book on a Sunday. I closed the book. It was newspapers back then. I opened the paper and there was this little tiny ad and it said legal recruiting. And I ended up getting a job it was very innovative at the time. It was called Attorneys Per Diem and it was legal staffing, which now is like a whole industry, right? But then it was
Yeah.
very new. And I always tell people, like when they're trying to break into recruiting, if they are, that try to get a job temp staffing because the learning curve about figuring people out is like, shoo, like you learn really fast, right? And it all goes fast. So that was how I started my career. And I will tell you this, the preface of the book, Do What You Are, it says like write your name with your dominant hand and then write your name with the non-dominant hand. You can still do it, but it takes longer and the results aren't as good. And that's what it's like working in a job that your personality isn't suited for. You can do it, but are you going to be that good at it? Are you going to have fun doing it? And that's how I felt when I started recruiting. I thought recruiting was easy when I started. I actually thought this is like the easiest job in the world. It's so much fun. But over the years, I'm like, it's not easy because I see a lot of people who suck at it, right? Like you realize that it was
Yeah.
for that it suited me, like it was the right job for me. So I
Yeah.
got very lucky, very
Well, I
lucky.
think the writing your name with your dominant versus non-dominant hand, that's a really good
Yeah,
analogy. Yeah.
analogy.
That's
Yeah,
that's smart. And so you went into recruiting and it seems like you it's like just very natural for you and you sort of
never
talked
look
about
back.
like you feel like you the way the way you moved up and been promoted was not necessarily intentional, right? It was more
Yeah,
so just getting pulled into leadership roles
Yep.
going and doing a good job. So what's that been like?
Yeah, so I overall kind of lack ambition, which is kind of funny. I once had a therapist that said, I don't know if that's true. You were the first person to graduate college of your family,
Grad
then you
school
went to
too.
law school. So there's some ambition, but I don't feel like I'm that person that's like it all matters so much. Like, I mean, I want to be successful so I can make money and whatever, but like I don't know. I never wanted like really big jobs. It's funny when I was at Credit Suisse, an HR business partner told me. And at that point, I could have still probably made a pivot. And he's like, if you want to be a chief people officer someday, you have to be an HR business partner at some point. You have to do that. Two things there that happened to me. I was, first of all, like, I have absolutely no interest in being a chief people officer. And I would be a terrible HR business partner because first of all, they have a lot of very hard conversations with people. And also, I'm just a gossip, and I would be like, "Oh my God, I got dish." It would not be the right job for me. So
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in it. But at that moment, and this is kind of going in a different direction, but I did realize at that moment, I always thought of the people partners or the HR business partners as my peers. Like I'm a subject matter expert, you're a subject matter expert. We, work together. But we kind of have a dotted line to them, right? Like, and it's good to remember that. Like, no matter how close you are to them and how good of relationships, they're the ones that, if they have the right relationships with their internal clients, if you don't keep them in the loop, they could get ambushed where, like, the head of the department saying, "What the hell's happening with this recruiting?" or whatever. Like, you really have to treat that relationship with a little bit of deference, isn't the right word, but like, they're not exactly your peers, right? And it was a very important kind of lesson for me just in corporate America. But anyway, yeah, I had no interest in being a chief people officer and even like a head of talent acquisition. I mean, I didn't even think of myself as necessarily a natural leader, but it turns out like I'm not bad at it because when I first like my first big job was at Experian where I had a team of 9, and I called a friend of mine who had had big teams before, and she said, "Be the manager you always wanted to have," and so that and like about like 5 years later, I said something to her. I'm like, you so inspired me, and she's like, I said that bullshit. I'm like, listen, it meant a lot to me.
Yeah, you needed it at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I try to, like for me, and this is where being low ego is really good as a manager. Like I have always been like, if you leapfrog me, God bless. Like I am fine with that. I don't like, I would love to develop people. I want like the team to like love recruiting. I want them to be able to be whatever they want to be. And I want to put them out there and put them as far in front of as they want to be. And I just don't want them to hate their job, right? And sometimes a bad manager can make that happen, right? And so I try really hard to always
Yeah.
remember what it's like to have somebody there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And so now you're working at Human, and Human is a growth stage cybersecurity company, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
How many employees does your team have?
It's a little over 400
One or
globally.
two? Okay.
Yeah. And we're headquartered in New York, although the team is, probably in New York. I don't know. We have about 50 or 60 people. It's a great office. I go in a couple days a week.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was very lucky. Like I'm not a hashtag blessed kind of gal, but I do feel like I got super lucky. And I don't know if I'm zigzagging too much, so you can pull me
Oh, this is
back if
good.
I
You're good.
am.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I got laid off from Shutterstock, me and like half my team. They did decimated the talent acquisition team, and I got laid off at the end of 2023. And that was like, it wasn't technically a recession, but it for recruiters, the market correction after the Great Resignation was real. Like, I mean, I'm sure there were so many recruiters that didn't have jobs that like, and to this day, right? It's still hard
Yeah,
in talent acquisition.
it is.
So yeah, here I was, like I was a recruiting leader, and it was kind of jarring because I did feel like I was kind of at the top of my game then. I'd be doing podcasts, I'd be like speaking at things. Like I mean, like I got my notice, and then I was at the LinkedIn Talent Connect on a panel like that week. And it felt really it's like it's so amazing. Like you have to remember that from the top to the bottom is not that far, right? So anyway, I didn't have a job. And it took me 14 months to find one. I did what I could, but I was very picky about what I was applying for because I'm a recruiter, right? And we could talk about that a lot, just how
Yeah.
like when you're interviewing as a recruiter, you kind of know what's going on behind the curtain, right? And it makes it like more interesting. But anyway, so I thought my career was over. I mean, ageism is real. I was like, it's done. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll have to figure out some sort of side hustle. I don't know. And then the chief people officer at Human, who I worked for at Experian 10 years prior, reached out to me. And I had always liked working for her, and I was really touched that she remembered me. And she told me about this role. And I went in, I spoke with like, I don't know, the CFO, the general counsel, the CEO, but it was the kind of thing where as long as they like, it was more like, okay, I trust you, you're vouching for her. She did fine in the conversation. And I would have never gotten this job. Like I would have never gotten this job if it was just me, like some person, because I didn't have super tech experience. I mean, a little, but not a lot, right? And it was a younger company. And, it's not a startup, but it's like 14 years old.
Mm.
But I do find that I always wanted to go into a startup, like even when I like was working in financial services and everything, but it's very velvet ropey. Like younger companies are very much, they're always just like, I don't know, they say you don't know how to scale or you need prior startup experience and things like that. And yeah, so I got this job and I feel so lucky to be at this company, right? But what I learned is that I was right. I'm actually really like, this is the kind of place where I flourish. Because I think that the mistake young companies make is they screen for experience signals instead of like behavior signals. And experience is kind of an imperfect proxy, right? Like people, like I was in corporate America for most of my career. I did fine, obviously, but I never was happy. I never really flourished, right? And I think like over-indexing on where someone has worked and under-indexing on like how they operate is a mistake a lot of young companies make. Because I think personality matters more. Like I think as a young company, you shouldn't just be like, oh, they haven't had prior startup experience. What's more important is like, are you comfortable working with ambiguity or does it make you crazy? Can you move fast without like perfect information? Do you default to action or to process? Like, what's your preference? Are you low ego? Because like I do a lot of like low end stuff and I don't care at all, right? So I feel like I learned that I was right that like personality is more important than where I've worked before. I interviewed a woman about a job and she'd only have been in big companies and she said something like, I flourish in matrix environments. And I'm like, girl, this is not your place. I did not flourish in matrix environments. And like people who do, it's a whole different kind of operator, right? I mean, and God bless, I always like respected people who were able to, but it wasn't for me, right? And if somebody had asked me that question, I'd have been like, yeah, it's not where I'm happy.
How do you think you like get that out of to make sure it's the right behavioral fit for a startup, growth stage, scale up tech, whatever, right? Because when I ask people point blank, like that never worked for me
Yeah,
to
no,
be able to say
yeah,
like, hey, how do you like just so you know, we don't have XYZ built out,
yeah.
we don't do
They're always
this,
like,
we don't
oh,
do that.
great, fine,
They're like,
yes,
oh yeah, like I've always wanted to work for a startup. It's like, yeah, okay.
yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, like there are
Sure.
signals like this one that said, I flourish in a matrix environment.
Yeah.
Ask what frustrates them in their current role. Like,
Yeah,
if they
that's
say
a
too
good.
slow or bureaucracy or decisions take forever, that's a good sign. Like it's not enough structure or roles aren't clearly defined. That's not a good sign. How do you feel like when priorities change quickly? Like how does that make you feel? What's something you've done at work that technically is not your job? Like things like that will give you an idea if somebody is comfortable with, you
Yeah.
have to be kind of low ego, I
Yeah.
think, to
Well, I
like,
think yeah, like what frustrates you about your current job is a great question because
yeah,
you're right. Because it's like it's not leading, like it doesn't feel like a leading question where they can kind of catch on to what you're doing,
right,
right?
exactly, where they're like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. Exactly. Like you can, yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I
Um,
hate that in interviews, like you're not supposed to say anything negative. Like you don't have to be a jerk about like where you've been, but like I feel like what you don't like is like so important, like to know what was bad,
yeah.
and everybody's like always trying to dance around it. I'm like, can we just be real? Like,
Well, I think
what?
like honestly, I think strong communicators and like folks that they can get there. I think they're still a little like hesitant, but if you like level set with people, like yeah, like
Yeah,
I get it. Like I don't, not to call anybody out specifically, just that it said like in terms of the environment, like walk me through. Because I do like for me, I do want to get a sense for how well they understand the challenges in their current environment.
right. Yes,
Like
yes. Very
so
important.
I ask similar questions, but I do try to get a sense for like what's going well, what isn't going well.
Right.
If they were in charge, what would they be doing? Why?
Yeah.
I ask a
Yeah.
lot of questions about that to just try to like understand their business and strategic acumen and problem
Right.
solving and behaviors. And I kind of do thought experiments and I talk to them about their current environment.
Are you a behavioral question person?
I like almost exclusively at this point.
Right.
So for I own two companies, and
Yeah.
one of them that I hire the most for is Secure Vision. It's an embedded recruiting and RPO firm
Yeah.
for the tech industry. And so I interview a lot of recruiters
Right.
all the time,
Uh-huh.
every week, because we
Yeah.
have to be great at that, right? Because
Right.
that's our business. And so by the time they get to me, it's the final round.
Yeah.
But it's I have a handful of questions. I have like 3 to 5 questions I ask. It's the first question I ask is, and to me, this is behavioral. I don't
Yeah.
know if this is a
Yeah.
traditional behavioral question, but I just say, okay, look, if they're internal, if they're at an agency, it varies a little bit. If they're at an agency side, I'll be like, okay, look, if you were promoted to CEO of the company tomorrow,
Right.
tell me your strategy. What would you do? What would you double down on? What would you change?
Ah,
Like,
I like that.
because I like to, these are
Yeah.
recruiters, right?
Yeah, see, I don't consider those behavioral. I like those questions. I don't like to tell me
Yeah.
about the time when. Like, I know we're supposed to like those. Like, tell me about a time when you had
hmm
to, and there's some complex thing. You're like, well, that's never happened. I don't like it. I like that kind of question
I
because
like
it,
that because I can extrapolate though, like from there, because it leads to follow-ups where I can get a sense for like
yeah,
their how they behave, like behavioral
yeah,
situations, their business strategic acumen, like how well their awareness of like how their role impacts the North Star and how the company
yeah,
is working together and
yeah,
like
yeah.
all of
That's,
you know
but see, you're going more for that, how they operate, which I like. And also like a strategic mind and how macro can you be about thinking about things? Those are important questions.
I
Like,
think so. I because for whatever reason for us it having those people who can that have a certain level of business and strategic acumen and can see outside of the tactics of their role and can see
yeah,
like, okay, here's an outcome that needs to be accomplished, and here's the most direct path from A to B,
right.
regardless of what my JD is. It's not the
Yeah,
point. The point
yeah,
is the solution and
right,
getting there. And
exactly.
I look for that. I ask like a lot of those types of questions just to get a sense for how they operate. I one of my questions like we have a great onboarding was like hypothetically if you didn't have any onboarding,
Yeah,
like what would you do day one? How would you ramp to be successful?
that's a
Uh,
great question. I like
and
that one.
I like just kind of getting a sense
Yeah,
for how they would operate. And
operate. Yeah, yeah, I like that.
I guess
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. So that's the best way to put it. But I do that one kind of and I like to ask questions that they've never gotten before because they can't respond on autopilot.
right, exactly. Exactly. Like that's the thing. And you know what? What's driving me bananas lately? Like everybody got the advice where you're like, do you have any questions? And as a recruiter, I understand why people in the business feel like if they don't ask questions, that's not good. But for me, I'm like, I try to explain a lot to them during the conversation. So if they, I don't want them to feel like they have to, but I hate they all ask, is there anything I haven't explained deeply enough that you have deeper questions? You know that one that there's that
Yeah.
cliche question, is there anything else that you need to I'm almost like, oh God, that's such a tagline now. Just stop
Yeah.
it. You know?
So I am big on questions.
Yeah,
I will judge
you'll
somebody
judge.
based on the quality of their questions.
Now, will
Like
you judge if they don't send you a thank you email?
no, I don't care
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
I
okay,
don't know
good.
why.
Yeah,
I can't tell you why exactly I don't.
yeah.
I don't
Because
really
it's
care.
old fashioned and just stop it. That's
Yeah,
why.
and now
Yeah,
I
yeah,
if somebody sends me like a follow-up that's like truly
yeah,
feels like relevant or
yeah,
impactful, like hey, I was giving more
yeah,
thought to X, Y, and Z,
yeah,
and there was this one situation, or hey,
yeah,
I'd be curious to approach it like this, or I would love to have another conversation about like something that's like guiding
yeah,
and leading and value driven. To me, that's really cool. Every
yeah.
once in a while, you'll get that
Agree.
type of
I
candidate.
agree. Yeah,
But no, I don't need them to follow up and say thank you. But I do expect like by the time you're on the call with me, like I expect you to have some good questions for me.
right,
Like I expect you to be intellectually curious.
right.
I expect you to be problem solving with me on the call. I expect, like, to me, it's like I see the interview process. It's like the first project we're working on together.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the first time we're working together. It's not we're thinking about working together. We're working together now. And that's how I see it. I see it as like kind of this like let's see how we work together and how we can
yeah.
collaborate and learn from each
But
other and problem solve.
you're the last stage. And
Right.
I do think that intellectual curiosity is one of the things that but I find that just the way I usually navigate, like I'm not very structured in my conversation. I try to make it as conversational as possible. So we're kind of like the last questions in the middle. Like, well, so by the end,
Yeah.
I don't really care. I just, it doesn't, but I do think as, at the end of talking to people on the interview panel or the hiring manager, that then you should have questions.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
sometimes they're like sometimes there's candidates like depending on how much I know going into it where I'll switch over to like what questions do they have like
Yeah.
almost at the beginning of the interview, like
Yep.
really soon, because it, again, like a lot of it I'll base off, like I'll try to get a sense for their behavior and how they think and how they
Yeah.
approach, like just based on their own questions. Like
Yep. Yeah.
I feel like their
Do you feel
questions
like
are
you've
so
done
important.
well choosing your recruiters, or have you had, like I always say, human beings are a volatile commodity, so we all get it wrong sometimes, right? But like generally speaking, do you think you like make good calls?
I generally speaking, yes, and definitely over the years it's gotten better. I think what I've learned, and this is actually goes along with what you said, is that I just like you cannot compromise on a behavioral fit.
Yeah, yeah,
I can
yeah.
do anything else, like skill
Yeah.
sets, whatever,
Yep.
backgrounds, years of experience.
Experience, I agree.
But if they're not,
Same.
every
Yep.
time that I haven't like trusted my gut or just stuck to a really high standard fit when it comes to behavioral skill set, it doesn't work out. Like
Yeah.
it's just tech is too demanding. It's too
Yep.
challenging and it's uh so yeah, I think it's the whole game. It's like when it's urgent, you need to hire,
Yeah.
you need to move because you
Right.
got, your
Sense
customers
of
or whoever's
urgency is
stuck.
everything. Yep.
But like you have to hold your ground and just maintain that your high standards and wait till you get
Yeah. I
the right
agree.
person.
So I think you've learned the right lessons, James.
Behavioral fit. I think we're aligned.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's by far the most
Yeah.
important thing. I have this list of like what success looks like at Secure Vision. It's like a list of 10, 13 things, and it's
Uh-huh.
all like, being proactive, 100% say do ratio, all of these different little things that like
Right.
just show.
Yeah. It's good. That's good to know. Like it's funny because I have this like talking about like company values and everything. And
Mhm.
I feel like my company has five values. I really think you could just have three. Like because what I think like and most people don't give like this is a funny story actually.
Yes.
I shouldn't name the company, but anyway, I worked at a company that had a terrible culture. And I even helped them rewrite the value. We kept the values, but it was too corporate speaky. And the chief people officer was like excellent. Like the CEO was like excellent. We and then they had a leadership meeting, and the guy asked. So it was all the senior leadership team, and he asked, name one value that the company has. Nobody knew one value, not the CEO, not the chief people officer. He sat there for 2 minutes and nobody said a word. And so I feel like choose your values wisely, like what's really important there to be successful and what is important just in terms of like the existence of the company. And make sure everybody knows it, right? Because I think that it should say something about a company. So I feel like Lehman Brothers was very good at that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's an important thing to make sure that people are aligned with what's important for the company.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know what's interesting is I don't know if this is if I should be embarrassed about this, but I don't I don't think like I can't think we don't have like a list of values at Secure Vision of like
Yeah.
three core values of the company. I have this
Don't be
like list
embarrassed.
of
That's cool because it's
yeah,
kind of a
we have
corporate
this list of
thing.
like behavioral traits that like or here's what it takes to be successful. And I think just generally like we have there's a culture where it's
Yeah.
like we know our culture, we know how to explain our culture and
Yeah.
we're all very aligned, but yeah, we don't have like a
No,
you know
don't be embarrassed. I think
page
that's
where it's
great.
we
I
if we do on the website, it's old, I'll be honest. Like it's been there for a long time. But yeah, yeah. So one of the things we were talking about too was before we hit record was just like I mean, we're already talking about culture, so let's slow
Yeah.
down there, right? You mentioned something we were talking about how like how do people get it wrong? How do
Yeah.
people get culture wrong? And it's just sort of an interesting thing to think about because I don't think any executive team is like, you know what? I want to have a really bad culture. Like,
Yeah,
let's just
no, no, they
create this
don't. They don't.
terrible culture
Yeah.
or
It,
lackluster culture. Nobody
yeah,
wants
they
to
all
do that.
think and they know that like culture eats strategy for breakfast. They're willing to say those things, but not live those things, right?
What do you think the disconnect is? Like, why
I
do you think so many companies struggle with it?
This is like something I'm actually like really passionate about because we work a lot, right? Like, whatever. Let's even say just 40 hours a week, it's a lot. And so you should be the threshold should be you don't hate it, right? It's not soul sucking, right? Um, but that's not even really enough. It should be like it's okay to be there, right? I mean, like, and that's so rare to find. And I do think that it's a little bit about I think that in a bigger company, the CEO and the chief people officer influence it a lot. Bad behavior should not be rewarded. When you're in financial services, there'll be some person that's like a screamer, like a giant, horrible person to work with that makes people cry all the time, but he's a rainmaker. It's like, no, you know what? Like I read all right, I listened to a podcast about assholes in the workplace. And the CEO of Duolingo said, I'd rather have a hole than an asshole. And I like that. It's like, get rid of them. Don't worry. Like, nobody's irreplaceable. Get
That's
rid of them.
fun.
That's not good. It's cancer, right? And so
Yeah.
I think part of it is like seeing bad behavior and calling it out and getting them to where they need to be or just getting rid of them, right? Sometimes it
Mhm.
just means like when I was at Oppenheimer Funds, which was a lovely culture. I really liked it a lot. And they kind of like managed people out. Like if they were like bored, like they just didn't have good behaviors, they kind of like made it like life not pleasant. It made it like you don't belong here. And a lot of times they'd leave on their own. Sometimes they got them out, but they did pay attention to that. And so I think that's very important. When I was interviewing, it turns I'm not really a good interviewer, as it turns out, like myself as an interviewee, because I am who I am and I'm very honest. And so
Well, yeah,
sometimes,
but that in a way that makes you a great interviewer again. It's like when like people who aren't like salespeople sometimes are the
yeah.
best salespeople, you know?
No,
Because
I agree, but
you
like
know what I mean? Like because
yeah, like
it's
I
very
think that
natural.
like talking like I think that my candidates when I'm talking to candidates they would say I'm good. But I think as me, like if you were interviewing me because I'm just so real and so when people were asking me when I was, unemployed just before this job and they'd say, "What do you really want in your next job?" And I was like, I want to have some colleagues that I can have a laugh with now and then. I want to have people that I kind of just enjoy. And it sounds ridiculous, but God, it matters so much, right? When you
Yeah,
think
for
about
sure.
jobs that you have liked, it's generally because you actually like most of the people. That's really
Yeah.
what it is, right? Like, that person that you're like slacking on the side while there's some like some big conference call going on and you're like, just joking, whatever it is. That's a human. I like everybody. I really do. There's nobody that gets on my nerves too
That's
much.
awesome.
And that's like, so I think that that's
That's
like
like
a
a
key.
superpower. That's
Yeah, I
really
know.
cool.
I know. I feel so lucky. But I think that that's a really big part of culture is like what kind of behaviors are like okay. Like anybody that's like like that machinations and like backstabbing, it's like, ugh, who has
Yeah.
time for that, right? And even like I'm not a big fan of corporate speak. And like anybody that's like, those people that they say things in corporate America and it sounds really important. And you're like, I don't know what they said. And they always have like these big decks, and you're like, I don't even know what's going on there. And it's like all this, they don't get things done, but somehow they get further and further in their careers because they,
They're good at talking.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like that, So I
I
think
don't
that
know.
makes bad
So some
culture
people
too.
just like that's the skill set they develop almost is like just
Yes,
the talking
they
versus the
flourish in a matrix. I mean, that's a thing, right?
yeah, like
It's a thing.
you become the best at like talking about potential and then that it never really comes to
Yeah.
fruition.
I think about that a lot because there's a book called Bullshit Jobs and it talks about how there like are so many corporate jobs that are really kind of created like what do you do really? Like it's like what is that job, right? Like some spreadsheet. I don't know, just like certain jobs where you're like, what is that? And it's kind of like this theory that I don't want to say universal basic income because you have to work, but like we need to have jobs for people and these jobs just come. And I feel like there are
Yeah.
people that just operate in big corporate environments where it's like, what are you getting done? Like, what are you getting done? And yeah, not
Yeah.
my.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's yeah, we can talk a lot about that too.
Yeah. That's what I
It's, I
like
think,
about, I mean, there's a lot I like about being a recruiter, but one of the things is it makes sense, right? Like I had a t-shirt that Indeed gave me that just said, I help people get jobs. That's what I do. I'm a connector, right? And we build cultures, right? Because we're the gatekeepers and we're the first people. We have like asshole filters, right? And you
yeah,
decide who goes, and that's like, I get what I do. Like anybody can understand it. It's not
yeah,
like that. Oh, I consult on, oh, whatever. Like you're like, I don't know
yeah,
what that is.
yeah. What does that, yeah, what does that even mean? Yeah, I think one of the weird, interesting things too, and I mentioned this to you before we hit record, was I've been in tech now for well over a decade, and I know a lot of repeat entrepreneurs, CEOs,
Yeah,
people that have built incredible companies, and sometimes what's interesting is like all even like one of my advisors, like I've spoken to some of like ex-employees. They're just like, oh, that guy,
yeah,
da,
but
da,
yeah,
da, da,
yeah,
he didn't
exactly.
care
Yeah,
about people, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, he's like the nicest guy, though.
yeah,
And it's just like weird when you start to see sometimes disconnects too, because it's like I do think that there's also sometimes I don't know where something goes wrong, but
I
every once
know.
in a while I've met somebody who they're like genuinely like a pretty good leader, or they
Yep.
appear to. I mean, when I'm, but it's not always what's perceived by the team.
Yeah,
The team doesn't feel like the culture is the company successful, right?
yeah,
Like the company's scaling, and it's getting the big valuation or the big exit or whatever.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
people don't like the culture.
Yeah, like
And
I
that's
and again I would love to name names, but it just seems inappropriate, so I won't. But I work for a company where the CEO, oh my God, he was such a jerk. And like there was one time where he like called me out on this one search, like on a call. And it was like abusive. It was actually abusive. And I felt so, and I was at a friend's house because I was getting some work done in my apartment. And I remember I was leaving and the husband, the guy was like, he wouldn't even look at me because he was kind of embarrassed because he'd heard like this hell I'd just gone through. And I was told by people who kind of knew him that he was like a great guy, like a dad and like likable. And I'm like, no way, no way.
yeah,
How can that be the same person? I don't have an answer for you because I don't understand it, you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's strange. It's
yeah,
also strange, like what aspects of culture are necessary for companies to succeed versus like what aspects of culture we should have just because there are values and how we operate as
yeah,
people.
yeah.
And are they always the same? I mean, I think there is a lot of crossover, like, but it is interesting to kind of think through,
Yeah,
like,
it's a good point because if it's always happy, happy, joy, joy, nice, 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 maybe you don't get stuff done that you need to get done. So I don't feel like it has to be that. I don't know. We could go on a whole other podcast about
yeah,
like human decency and where the hell is it? Like what happened? Where did that
yeah,
go? And I think it's pretty simple. And again, like I do feel like one of my goals as an employee is to make work more pleasant for other people. Like my colleagues, I want to be nice. I want to be funny. I want to be a good collaborator. I don't, like those things, because if people like working with me, that means that their job is better, right? And I think that if we all thought about that as like part of our job description, maybe people would be a little different. I don't
yeah,
know.
for sure. I don't know what you think about this, but I think it's like because I'm like as we're having this conversation, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking through like how I define like my culture or like how I what I'm doing to actually influence the culture, and I think
Uh-huh.
it's there's just such a big emphasis that I put on performance and competency
Uh-huh.
and uh, folks being able to be like proactive, collaborate, but also be self-reliant and
Right.
to like self-manage
Yeah.
and just not no drama, no
Right.
bad drama. Like
Yes.
just
Yeah.
be good at your job, work
Get it
hard,
done. Yeah.
and we'll help each other.
Yeah.
But everybody here is a strong performer. I think I talk about like a high performing team a lot.
Hmm.
It's like I look at it as like a professional sports team. It's like we care about each other, we're here for each other, and everyone here earns their spot on this team.
Right.
And that's the dynamic. And I those are the types of like values though. It's like more it's like around performance and competency and no kind of, we don't want to deal with drama
Yeah.
stuff.
Any
And
drama. Yeah, exactly.
and it creates and ends up like creating like a really genuine good culture where I feel like all these other values come out about
Right.
like people really caring about
Naturally.
each other and like being really
Yeah.
supportive and all of those things are almost like, but it almost feels like those are like more of a byproduct of like,
Yeah, people that think that actually emphasize those things. Like, I just want to do the best job I can. I just want to get my work done. I just want to, and they
Yeah,
end up not being because it's not about like Game of Thrones stuff, right? It's just about let me just be really good at this
you
thing,
just get
right?
like really, like
Yeah,
competent, not to just do this, like find like really competent
yeah,
people and we all get along just fine. I mean,
yeah,
but it's interesting. We didn't start with the end of mind of like having like okay, a fun culture where we all like really like each other or this that. It really, frankly, like I can't say it was like that part wasn't intentional as much of it was just like okay, here's like our, the competencies we're looking for, the behaviors that we're
yeah,
looking for, and then it just
yeah.
sort of like
Naturally.
it
Well,
naturally happened. We've had people that worked here like 10 years, like 5 years, like
that's
a long
that's a
time.
testament. That's good. Yeah.
So
I mean, no, but
yeah.
you're looking for those people. Like the questions that you're asking when you're interviewing people will get you the right people, I think. Usually, like we get it wrong. We all get it wrong sometimes.
Right. So what do you like? What do you think are like the most important aspects to a good culture at a company? Like, what would you say is most important there?
God, that's it's kind of hard to articulate, but I do think that there is this that okay, like valuing people, like really valuing them. Like when I think about the places I've been happiest, like Oppenheimer and Human, it's not like you need the trophies or the awards. I mean, that's nice, but like they make it clear that I'm doing good work, that I'm contributing. Like there are ways to kind of let employees know that they're valued. And I think that that's really important in a culture and appreciated. Like we're glad you're here. That's just it's a little thing and there's different ways you can do it. So I think that that's really important. As I said, having people of similar like I mean like Human is very professional, but it's also like not very corporate feely and like that's a whole vibe. So like kind of getting people that are like the same sort of mindset, not exactly,
Yeah,
but just
yeah, for sure.
yeah, again, it's about that idea of like liking the people you work with. I think it's such a huge piece of culture, and I'm not really sure exactly how you make that happen, but it makes a big difference in places that you like to work versus not. Um, I do think a little bit like I mean it's not the pizza party thing, but I do think having some sort of like whether it's like a cocktail hour or like potlucks, it sounds silly, but like things like that where people are kind of bringing another piece of themselves to work so you get to know them, a different aspect of them is also a nice thing for cultures. I don't think
Oh,
I'm
for
answering this
sure.
question well though.
No,
I'm
you are. Yeah. So this gets into like the being in person or having hybrid
hmm
flexibility. Like
yeah,
so I'm a huge in-person advocate. I've gone full circle. I was all for an office, and then
yeah,
when COVID happened, I was like, oh wait, we can do all this stuff remote, and we don't have like the overhead of an office, and like that's super cool. And
yeah,
it is cool,
yeah,
but just like I feel like there's so much value in in-person collaboration and team building culture, speed, which
yeah,
I know a lot of people say it's like less productive. Like
yeah,
hasn't been my experience. For some people, I think it's different. It's very situational, to be clear. Like I don't think that there's one.
yeah. But that's
But
a we do
yeah.
that. Like, are you 5 days a week?
So my go-to-market team is 5 days a week, 9 to 6 in office.
Wow.
We're in it, and
And
it
you
because
don't have problems finding people? Like honestly, like
no, no. I mean, it's so for my go-to-market team, they're junior folks.
right.
So I
So
think there's
and
also
junior for I would say it's most important for junior folks because that's how you learn. I do agree with that.
and my senior recruiters are remote.
Yeah.
One of
Okay.
the reasons they're remote, I mean, there's a few reasons. One, it's like it's been that way for years, and so now I
Yeah.
have people
All over the place. Like that's, you
everywhere.
find your talent where you will and you hire it, right? Yeah.
But I would like to, and the other thing is that they're on screening calls all day. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Like what are
the
they really
role
doing in the office?
isn't
Yeah.
necessarily as collaborative in nature. Like, but the go-to-market team, I'm building it from the ground up. It's
Yeah.
like a new team. And so
Yeah.
it's like we're building something from nothing.
Right.
And the skill set I need is the behavioral fit. I
Yeah.
need smart people that are right behavioral fit. So I got some junior folks that are just gonna like really they're gonna grind, they're gonna work hard, they're gonna build a
Right.
foundation for themselves, and we're gonna build a company. Like that's sort of the motion. So in
Yeah.
person makes sense. I would say that I think like I see a ton of value in person for
Yeah.
all levels of seniority.
I'm a hybrid fan. I
Yeah.
like, and I go in the office 2 or 3 days a week, and I look forward to it. I enjoy it, and I like. I love the New York office on a lot of levels, but I don't think I could go back to even 4 days would be hard for me. I
Yeah.
do like today I'm in my sweatpants, man. I don't have a waist right
Yeah.
now.
Nice.
It's all good, you know.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah,
you.
so I totally agree with you though
Well, yeah,
that
I mean, I'm calling from Tennessee. I'm
yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
remote today, so
exactly.
you
So
know,
like that's,
yeah,
one of the good things about COVID is that you realize like how about interviewing? You remember when all the candidates had to come in? What were we
yeah,
thinking? All the time, they all
yeah. It's poor
you can do so
candidates.
much via video.
Yeah,
Although have you had any I haven't had any that I know of, like fake
not
candidates
for
yet.
what we do. At a couple of our customers, we've seen some stuff, but I mean, we have lots of checks and balances in place.
Yeah.
I know some tech companies seem to be targeted more than others, where they're getting
Yeah, I
a
think so
lot of
too.
fraud.
Like most of our like tech people, I think, do come into the office. So I think it's more when it's fully remote jobs that you are more
Yeah, to
vulnerable
like tell
to
people
it.
like, hey,
Yeah.
put your hand up and wave
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
sorts
Yeah.
of
Have you heard of it? That's so
yeah,
crazy, isn't it? Wow.
yeah. That's wild, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hybrids. I mean, I guess technically I'm hybrid because like there's times I'll do trips and I
Yeah.
won't be in office. It's nice to be able to like go out with, and I just genuinely from a quality of life perspective, like I do think that being able to meet up with the people you work with and enjoy time together,
Yeah.
it's like it makes if you like the people you work with, it makes life better, I think.
Yeah, it's like and when I think about, like I said, the two places that I've been happiest, like we would sometimes go out together, like and do on our own dime, like, oh, let's go out, right? And like there was like the younger group, they called themselves the millennials, and now they'd be the older ones, but back then. Anyway, so and they'd go out, but like they liked each other. Like they actually genuinely liked each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's nice when you get that.
Yeah, it is. It is. Is everyone that you hire right now like hybrid in New York, or is your
No,
team
that's the
spaced
thing.
out?
Like we hire
Just throughout.
especially like when you talk about tech talent where
Yeah.
and even the go to market, like we need very specialized. So I don't care if you live in Indiana, like that's let's just get you
Yeah,
on site.
just like
So
wherever. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean we do have, people like but the other thing about New York is it's also expensive, right? Like you generally have to pay more. So a little bit New York, but all over the place really.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah. Our CEO like likes people in person. So there's a lot of traveling. Like he lives in North Carolina, but he comes to the office very
Oh,
often.
that's great.
And all of the executive leadership team is in the New York office a lot. So we get a lot of FaceTime, which is good. Yeah.
You know, North Carolina is a good market. Charlotte
Yeah,
is really up and coming for talent. I
exactly.
got a few
Yeah. We
folks
have a
in.
lot of leaders in the Carolinas for some reason. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
my COO is in
Yeah.
Charlotte,
Yeah.
and we've been thinking about possibly opening up a hub there.
Oh yeah.
Actually, for our recruiters. But again, like I think hybrid at most for recruiting because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like so much of their time is just heads down.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
really senior level people, like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
still feel like there's like creative problem solving, collaboration, like culture, like getting folks together in person
Yeah.
once in a while would be awesome. So
Yeah.
thinking about it, yeah.
It's funny, like a place that I went where the job itself, I was like miserable was Wells Fargo because I was hired during COVID. It was 100% remote. And that is a big bureaucratic company, like everything I don't like. And we were crazy busy. It was executive recruiting.
Yeah, I
And
saw
so
that.
I was literally there a year, like from start to finish. My last day was the same, like my 1 year anniversary. So from a cultural perspective, it was not a fit. But the strangest thing is that like even though it was fully remote, I still have friends from then. Like I really bonded with my team and one of my colleagues, Karen, like I just like still keep in touch with them. Like there is a little bit of that like back in Nam thing. Like it's like it was we were in the trenches, like doing hellish work. And somehow we like really bonded. So I feel like you can connect well via remote, but it kind of just depends.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting stuff. Yeah, I'm with you though. I think hybrid, at least like hybrid is nice.
Yeah,
It's nice to be able to get it's nice to
agree.
be able to wear sweatpants, but it's also nice to be able to get out of them.
I know, right?
You
Yeah, and
know?
I'm really lucky because we're in a cool neighborhood. We're in Union Square, which is an easy
Oh, yeah,
commute,
that's
and
like
it's
the
very
perfect
cool.
for getting in and out of the
Yeah.
city too. Yeah.
Shutterstock was in the Empire State Building, which sounds sexy, and it's like Herald Square neighborhood. Like, ugh, it was like the worst neighborhood. You couldn't get a good
Yeah.
cup of coffee anywhere, you know?
Yeah. 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 Union Square is like That's usually most of my meetings. That or like I'll have financial district
Yeah.
tickets.
Financial district's not bad now. It used to be, but now, I mean, it's not as
It's hard
cool.
to get to though. Like if you're, it's
Yeah.
harder for some folks to get into,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
versus like Union Square area, you
Yeah.
know?
Union Square got all the, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's an awesome location. Well, cool. So there was one other, I did want to talk to you. You gave me some really good advice about how you think about building TA programs. And so I think for like the final kind of topic of today, I would actually love to just get your advice. Like, you had talked about like one of your top takeaways as a talent acquisition leader is like don't overbuild.
Right.
So could you explain to us what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I really learned it. I've been laid off twice. I was laid off when Lehman Brothers failed. I made it to Barclays, but then I was like their first round. And I was out for 9 months because that was a recession and nobody was looking for an equities recruiter. So, and then the other time was, what I would call the soft recession, which was after the Great Resignation, when I was at Shutterstock. And especially when I was the Shutterstock one, I realize like I will argue to anybody, and I mean this very sincerely. I think that what we do is one of the most important things in the company because we do build companies, we build cultures, right? That's what we do. And I think it's so important, but it's not really a very respected role, talent acquisition, because it's like they just get rid of you when it's slow. Like I love my
Yeah.
boss. She's great because she's like, I, we're gonna need you. Like she gets it, but a lot of companies don't get it, right? And so I I think that overbuilding just means you're gonna have to slash, and there's nothing worse than letting people go. It's horrible, right? Like
Yeah.
I could go on this whole thing about Jack Welch destroyed corporate America with shareholder value because they don't care about employees anymore, right? I mean, why don't they just make us contractors, like the way they kind of treat talent acquisition? So for me, I would rather like just have my team like work as hard as possible and I'm in there doing, whatever and like we're all doing it versus say, oh, we're having a surge, we need another head count. Like I don't ever like, unless you're scaling to be like 2 times your size or something like that, where you definitely need somebody, like I just don't want to do that. And I don't overbuild. I don't overpromise. Like I always get to the yes, but like I think you have to be very kind of direct with, with your internal clients about like what they can expect in terms of the candidates and things along those lines. And I think that goes a long way. I'm not a yes person necessarily. And then I don't panic when things change anymore because they always do. Like, th- right now, I think the market's kind of soft still. Do you feel like that? Like, I feel like you're still able to get decent talent. However, the really good talent is pretty expensive. Has that been your
Yeah.
vibe?
I mean, I would say the market at early stage is pretty strong right now. I mean, there's a lot of startups and scale ups,
Yeah.
growth stage companies that are hiring.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of growth. And yeah, I would say salary ranges are either particularly they're getting pushed up in New York City and San Francisco
Yeah.
because there's a hiring surge for early stage plus a requirement of return to office, which is really hard right now because so much talent has moved out
Yeah.
of those markets. So it's like you look
Yes.
at SF and you see all those folks that moved to left
Yeah.
California, went to,
Yes. It's
Colorado.
problematic, right? I feel kind of bad for them. They all like went and now they're like, because there's not many remote jobs now.
Well, yeah, and these companies now they're paying people so much in SF and in New York
Yeah.
because like there's a bigger talent shortage
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of I mean all the talent that moved out. So um yeah, I mean we're definitely seeing there's a lot of competition. There's still I think it's what's interesting about tech is I'm curious to get your perspective on this is like it's interesting that there's sometimes the overall economy maybe isn't doing as well. And,
Right.
and that's when it's like startup and scale ups are just like
Right.
flourishing, which is what I would say is like right now, like at
Yeah.
this moment, I see a lot of startups and scale ups. There's a lot of money being invested right now.
Right. So the VCs are digging in. That's good to
Right.
hear. I would have thought they would be frozen right now.
No, no, they're not. And but it's interesting. Then you go back a few years ago, 2022, you remember with all
Right.
Silicon Valley Bank and all that happened.
Yeah.
And, the overall economy was great. Like macro, you turn on the news, it's like, overall US economy is really strong.
Right.
Tech was like
I know, I know. It was like
Awful.
we were living it,
So
and yeah, it was crazy because you're like, this is a recession. Why is it not being called a recession? It was weird, right?
yeah,
It was
it was just for tech. Like I don't think it was really outside of
Yeah,
that.
no, you're right. Financial services did ultimately, like tech is almost like the bellwether, you know what I mean, to kind of
Yeah,
show a problem. But it was really bad. And it's funny, that something I learned when I was at Shutterstock was I'm not one of those people that I need a seat at the table. Like I'm not that kind of person generally, but like we do need a seat at the table and people have to listen to us because I was like we were hiring like gangbusters, right? Like all these software engineers, like crazy like
yeah,
headcounts, right? And I was reading on Fishbowl that like the FANG companies were hiring freezes on any engineers except
right.
like very senior level. And I told like my boss, I was like, we maybe should slow down because something's going on here. I don't know what it is, but like maybe we don't need all these people. Are you sure we need all these headcounts? And it never went anywhere. Like I wasn't noisy enough about it. And we kept hiring and hiring and hiring. And then like 4 months later, they're like, oh, whoops. So I feel like TA really does need a seat at the table in terms of like our ear to the ground and what we're seeing, because I do feel like we see patterns that you know a lot of senior people in different roles don't see.
No, yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
I'll be
And this
noisier.
was 2021 when you were referring to
It
all
was
the
it was
hiring?
20 no, it was 2023. Like 2022
Yeah,
was when I read about it and then like it all crashed.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean because during after the pandemic things were the Great Resignation. That was like the craziest time to work, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
man, it was fun though. I didn't mind. Like we had our feet to the fire, but it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, this has been a really fun conversation. I'm so happy you were able to join us today and share more about your story and
Thanks
everything
for
that you've
asking
done.
me too. It's always fun to talk about. I love talking about what we do. It's the coolest job, really.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a nice little break too, you know. We get to record a podcast, get to switch it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I really enjoyed the conversation. Please,
Yep.
we got to keep in touch. I want to,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
100%. For everybody tuning in, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Take care.